Hi everyone. In today's video, we're going to be continuing our mini-series on the symptoms of PTSD. And PTSD is a complex mental health condition that develops in some people after exposure to a terrifying or life-threatening event. It's not just about feeling scared or upset in the aftermath. It's a long-lasting response that alters how someone thinks, feels, and behaves. Now, there are four main clusters of PTSD. In a prior video, I talked about re-experiencing symptoms like intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, emotional and physical reactivity to reminders of the traumatic event. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the next cluster of symptoms, which are avoidance symptoms. Avoidance symptoms, unlike the more commonly recognized or thought about flashbacks or nightmares, these avoidance symptoms represent a hidden struggle in post-traumatic stress disorder. They reflect the intense desire to escape anything that might trigger memories or reminders of the trauma. This need for escape can manifest in a variety of ways, often silently shaping a person's daily life and their relationships. By understanding these avoidance behaviors, we can gain valuable insight into the unseen battles that people with PTSD fight on a daily basis. It's not just about the terrifying memories or always being on guard. It's about the constant effort to navigate a world filled with potential triggers, a world that can feel unsafe and unpredictable to someone with PTSD. Now, there are two main forms of avoidance, and the first is called cognitive avoidance. Now, to understand cognitive avoidance, I want you to imagine a mental game of whack-a-mole. But instead of those moles, those pesky rodents that you're trying to hit with the mallet, the targets are intrusive thoughts and memories related to the traumatic event. People with PTSD may engage in a constant battle to keep these thoughts and memories at bay, like they're playing whack-a-mole. And they can do this in a few different ways. The first way is something called intrusion prevention, which is a kind of a way of hitting the pause button on intrusive thoughts. This strategy involves a constant state of mental vigilance. People with PTSD might develop a hair trigger sensitivity to anything that could potentially spark a memory or thought related to the trauma. And so the person may engage in constant activity. The fear of intrusive thoughts can lead to a need to stay constantly busy, keeping your mind occupied. People may fill their time with work or hobbies or social engagements to avoid any quiet moments where their minds might wander and memories of the traumatic event might resurface. People with PTSD will often find themselves using distraction techniques like listening to music, podcasts, or audiobooks, keeping the TV on in the background as a way of background noise, or engaging in mentally stimulating activities like crossword puzzles or games. All of these things are designed to keep the mind busy so that I don't think about the traumatic event. A second way that people can engage in cognitive avoidance is through mental blocking or intentionally trying to push away painful memories. This approach involves actively trying to suppress or push away thoughts or memories associated with the trauma. It's like trying to force a beach ball underwater. It might seem effective for a few moments, but eventually the memories resurface with a renewed force. Mental blocking can manifest as forced positive thinking. Some people might try to replace negative thoughts or memories about the trauma with positive affirmations or focusing on happy memories. Now, while positive thinking can be a valuable coping mechanism in general, it's ineffective when it's used to suppress the emotional reality of the trauma. A third form of cognitive avoidance involves topic avoidance, or changing the subject before it gets too close to reminders of the trauma. Conversations are an essential part of human connection, but for people with PTSD, certain topics can become emotional minefields. This can lead to a strategy of topic avoidance, manifesting as shifting gears when a conversation is veering towards a topic that could even vaguely be related to the trauma. Someone with PTSD may abruptly change the subject. This can be a way of preventing triggering memories or emotions. The person can also engage in social withdrawal. The fear of triggering conversations can lead to a person withdrawing socially. They might avoid gatherings or social situations altogether, and they might become withdrawn or uncommunicative in group settings. Then there's nonverbal cues. People with PTSD might also use nonverbal cues to avoid triggering topics. They might become visibly uncomfortable, fidgety, or withdrawn when a conversation takes a turn they'd rather avoid, essentially shutting down and shutting out the conversation. So those are all forms of cognitive avoidance, avoiding thoughts related to the trauma and the memories. But the avoidance symptoms in PTSD can extend far beyond thoughts and memories. They can create a complex web of restrictions around a person's daily life, impacting everything from where a person goes to how they interact with others. This is behavioral avoidance, and it can manifest itself in a number of different ways. There's activity avoidance, and this pattern of activity avoidance is common in PTSD. Activities that were previously enjoyable but have somehow become linked to the trauma are actively avoided. Someone who was in a car accident might give up driving altogether, even for short trips. This not only restricts their independence and sense of freedom, but it also contributes to a feeling of loss and decreased overall well-being. A person can experience avoidance of places, locations associated with the trauma, become off-limit zones. A person who was assaulted in a specific park might avoid that entire area altogether, even if it means things like missing out on social gatherings or scenic walks that they once enjoyed doing in that park. This place avoidance can extend beyond just the specific location of the event. So, for instance, someone who was mugged on a specific street corner, they might start avoiding the entire neighborhood altogether. They may start avoiding going out at night or going for walks altogether, essentially limiting access to these activities, limiting access to essential services or familiar amenities or even social connections. The fear of encountering reminders of the trauma can significantly restrict a person's daily routines and shrink their perceived safe havens in the world. There can be avoidance of certain people. The fear of reminders can lead to a decrease in contact with people associated with the trauma, even those who were sources of support during the ordeal. This avoidance can be indirect and it can be unintentional. So, someone who experienced a traumatic event at work might find it difficult to return to that workplace, leading to strained relationships with colleagues or even a person having to change their job. Similarly, someone who was involved in a motor vehicle accident with their best friend may find that they avoid seeing or talking with that friend after the accident because that friend has become associated with memories and thoughts about the accident. While the avoidance might be a way of protecting themselves from emotional triggers, it can also lead to isolation and a sense of disconnection from loved ones. And then there's situational avoidance. Situations that share even superficial similarities to the trauma can become triggers for avoidance. Someone who was traumatized during a crowded concert might avoid all large gatherings or loud events altogether. This situational avoidance can significantly limit a person's ability to participate in important life events, social activities, or even cultural experiences. So, for example, a person who was attacked by a dog might avoid all dog parks or even walking in the area where they might encounter dogs. And this restricts their ability on where they're going or to even enjoy outdoor activities. Now, it's important to remember that these strategies, while seemingly logical attempts to cope with overwhelming emotions, can be counterproductive in the long run. Avoidance behaviors can prevent people from processing the trauma and ultimately hinder the healing process. The avoidance can also lead to a person's world becoming progressively smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's this avoidance that becomes a significant target of the treatment in PTSD. And if you want to learn more about the nature of treatment in PTSD, I'd encourage you to check out this video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.